Hey, listen, I ain't here to play with your time, and I ain't here to feed you some watered down motivational quote you could have scrolled past on Instagram. I'm here to tell you something that could change how you move for the rest of your life. But you gotta really hear me. One, too many people out here are living like they're on somebody else's leash, dancing to a song they didn't even choose, smiling for approval they don't even need. And you know what that gets you? Miserable, drained, confused about who you even are. I've been in rooms where everybody wanted me to play a certain role. They had an image in their head of who I was supposed to be, how I was supposed to talk, what I was supposed to chase. But let me tell you something. When you live for them, you die to yourself. You start letting their opinions dictate your choices. Their insecurities shape your limits. Their fear become your reality. And before you know it, you're living a life that ain't even yours. Some of y'all been doing it so long, you don't even realize you're doing it. You wake up every morning thinking about how to please people who wouldn't even notice if you disappeared tomorrow. That's the trap. That's exactly why I'm saying today, right now, we're about to break that chain. By the time I'm done talking, you're gonna see that living for yourself ain't selfish. It's survival. Because if you don't start taking control of your own script, somebody else will write the whole story for you. And trust me, you ain't gonna like how it ends. You know what's crazy? Most people don't even realize how much of their life they're giving away every single day. It's like they're walking around with a wallet full of time, energy, and dreams, and just handing it out to anybody who reaches for it. You wake up thinking about who you gotta impress, who you gotta keep happy, what you gotta say so you don't upset nobody. You put on clothes not because you like them, but because you think they'll approve. You take jobs you don't want, go places you don't like, spend money you don't have, all because deep down you've been trained to care more about how you're seen than how you feel. That's how the world keeps you stuck. They feed you this quiet lie that your worth comes from other people's approval. And once you buy into that, you start playing a game that you can never win. Because here's the truth, no matter how much you give, no matter how much you bend yourself out of shape to fit into their little box, they're still gonna find something wrong. One, you'll never be enough for people who ain't even enough for themselves. I had to learn that the hard way. There was a time when I thought I had to be everywhere, know everybody, and make everybody like me. I was doing things just to prove I could someone, just to show I belonged. But I started noticing something. The more I tried to keep everybody happy, the emptier I felt inside. It's like I was disappearing in my own life. I was so busy trying to play the role they wanted me to play that I forgot who I was before they even had an opinion. And that's the danger. You can get so lost in people's expectations that you never take the time to figure out your own. You start chasing approval like it's oxygen, and you don't even realize you're suffocating. That's why so many people are miserable, even when they look successful on the outside. They built this whole image based on what they think others want to see, but deep inside, they're starving for something real. When you live like that, you're basically giving people the keys to your life. You're saying, here, you drive. Tell me where to go. Tell me what to do. Tell me who to be. And the problem is, most of them don't even know where they're going themselves. So now you're lost, following someone who's also lost, and both of you just walking in circles. The shift happens when you stop caring about fitting into their picture and start painting your own. When you wake up in the morning and ask yourself, what do I want? What do I need? What feels right to me? That's when you start getting your power back. One, that's when life starts feeling like it's actually yours. And let me tell you, that ain't always gonna make people happy. Some people are gonna be mad when you stop letting them control you. They're gonna say you've changed, you're selfish, you're arrogant. One. But that's only because they can't benefit from you the way they used to. They don't see that you're finally breathing for the first time. You gotta understand, living for yourself doesn't mean you stop caring about people. Someone. It means you stop letting their opinion be the reason you wake up in the morning. You can love people without letting them run your life. One, you can care for people without sacrificing your peace. That's balance. Once you start moving like that, you begin to notice how much time and energy you were wasting before. You see how many fake smiles you put on, how many, yes, responses you gave when your heart was screaming. And you realize how much of your life was on autopilot, controlled by the fear of what people might think. But when you cut that cord, it's like the world opens up. You start doing things because you actually want to do them. You start saying no without feeling guilty. You start feeling that weight lift off your shoulders. And you know the wildest part? The same people who doubted you, who criticized you, and who tried to keep you in that box, they'll start respecting you more once you stop caring about their opinion. People sense when you're moving from a place of confidence instead of approval. They might not like it at first, but deep down, they can't help but respect it. So don't wait for permission to live your life. Don't wait for applause before you make your move. Your life belongs to you. And if you don't own it, somebody else will. And trust me, they'll never run it the way you would. One, the moment you stop living for them and start living for you, that's when you really start living. People will swear up and down they want the best for you. But deep down, a lot of them only want what keeps them comfortable. They'll clap when you do good, but if you start doing better than them, you'll see that applause get real quiet. That's why living for other people is dangerous, because the moment your growth threatens their comfort, they'll start trying to slow you down. They'll say little things to make you doubt yourself, make you question your moves, make you feel like maybe you're doing too much. But it's not because you're doing too much. It's because you're doing more than they ever dared to do. See, when you're living for them, one, you start measuring your steps based on their reactions. If they smile, you move forward. If they frown, you pull back. And after a while, you're not even living, you're performing. You become this actor in a play you didn't even audition for, playing a role you didn't write, in a story that ain't yours. And you tell yourself it's love, it's loyalty, it's being a good friend or family member. But really, it's fear. Fear of losing them, fear of disappointing them, fear of being talked about when you're not around. You got to understand something. Fear is a leash. It keeps you from running where you're supposed to go. And people know that. That's why they'll pull it when you start moving too far ahead. They'll hit you with guilt, with shame, with little reminders of who you used to be. They'll talk about how you've changed, how you're not the same person they knew. But that's the point. You're not supposed to be the same. Growth means change. It means you shed old skin, old habits, old mindsets. If you're the same person you were 5 years ago, that's not loyalty, that's stagnation. When I stopped caring about who was clapping for me and who wasn't, that's when I started winning for real. I stopped explaining my move. I stopped announcing every step. I realized you don't have to convince people to understand your vision. They can't see what's in your head, someone, and they don't have to. You just have to move on it. And when they see the results, they'll either get inspired or they'll get bitter. That's not your responsibility. Here's what happens when you live for yourself. You start making choices based on what feels right in your gut, not what looks right to them. And your gut will always lead you to where you're supposed to be. It'll tell you when an opportunity is worth the risk, when a door is worth walking through, and when it's time to walk away. But if you're always looking around to see if they're nodding in approval, you'll miss that voice inside you. You'll miss your own lane, your own timing, your own blessing. Some of you are exhausted and you don't even know why. It's because you're carrying too many people's opinions on your back. You're dragging their expectations, their insecurities, their limitations, and you wonder why you can't run. Let me tell you something. You can't fly when you're tied down by the weight of everybody else's feelings. Someone, and they're not gonna cut the rope for you. You have to do it yourself. When you finally do, you'll feel it immediately. You'll notice how much mental space you get back. you'll notice how decisions come easier because you're not overthinking about who it's going to upset. One, you'll start moving faster because you're not stopping at every corner to get validation. That's when life starts feeling lighter. That's when you realize how much of your struggle wasn't even yours. It was borrowed from other people's expectations. And here's the crazy thing, some people will respect you more once you stop trying to please them. Because deep down, even the ones who criticize you wish they had the courage to do what you're doing. They wish they had the guts to put themselves first. They wish they could stop living under everybody's microscope. But instead of doing it, they watch you. And watching you reminds them it's possible. I'm not telling you to cut everybody off. I'm saying stop letting their vision replace yours. Stop letting their no override your whys. Stop giving them the final say in a life they don't have to live. Because at the end of the day, when the lights go out and it's just you and your thoughts, you're the one who has to live with the choices you made. And I'd rather live with the consequences of my own decisions than the regret of letting someone else steer my life. The problem with living for other people is they'll put you in a box, close the lid, and then get mad if you try to climb out. They'll set these invisible rules for you, what you should do, how far you should go, what's appropriate for someone like you. And here's the thing, those rules aren't even based on what's possible for you. They're based on what they think is possible for themselves. Their limits become your prison if you let them. You ever notice how quick people are to tell you, be realistic? What they're really saying is stay small enough so I feel comfortable. They'll act like they're giving you wise advice, but all they're really doing is projecting their own fear onto you. And if you start letting those projections seep into your mind, you'll shrink yourself without even realizing it. You'll start saying no to opportunities, not because they're bad for you, but because you've been trained to believe you're not ready, or you don't deserve it, or it's not your time. The dangerous part is that it's not always the haters who do this. Sometimes it's the people who say they love you. Family, friends, people you grew up with. They're not trying to hurt you, but they're speaking from their own limitations. And if you don't protect your mind, you'll start mistaking their limits for your truth. You'll start thinking the life you want is too much to ask for. That's why you can't let other people's comfort zones define your ceiling. Because if you do, you'll always be living under someone else's roof, and that roof will always be too low. You'll spend your life crouched down so you don't bump your head when you were meant to stand tall, and eventually that crouching becomes normal. You forget you were built to stand straight. You forget you were made to climb higher. The crazy thing is, the moment you decide to step out of that box, people's true colors show. Some will cheer for you, but others will panic. They'll try to pull you back in, not because you're doing wrong, but because you're proving them wrong. Your actions start shining a light on their excuses. And most people would rather dim your light than deal with their own shadows. You can't let that stop you. You've got to be willing to make moves that make people uncomfortable. Not in a reckless way, but in a way that forces them to see that you're not playing by their script anymore. You're writing your own. And the truth is, when you first start, it's going to feel lonely. Because the higher you go, the thinner the air gets. Fewer people can breathe up there. But that's okay. You're not climbing to carry everyone. You're climbing to fulfill what's inside you. When you live for yourself, you stop asking for permission to dream. You stop explaining why you're doing what you're doing. You stop trying to convince people to see your vision. Because here's the thing, they can't see it. They weren't given your dream. They weren't wired with your exact passion, your exact drive, your exact hunger. So stop wasting time trying to get them to get it. If they're supposed to understand, they will when it's time. Until then, your only job is to keep moving. The more you move, the more you'll realize how many opportunities you almost missed because you were waiting for someone to co-sign your next step. Think about it. How many times have you hesitated? not because you didn't believe in yourself, but because you were worried about how it would look, how it would be judged, how it might change people's opinion of you. That hesitation is expensive. Every time you stall, you pay in lost time, lost momentum, and lost chances. And time, you can't buy that back. So you've got to start valuing your time more than their opinions. Every day you waste trying to make someone else comfortable is a day you're not building what's meant for you. And when you finally wake up to that, you stop letting little comments throw you off. You stop explaining yourself to people who've already decided they wouldn't understand. You stop needing applause to keep going. You become driven from the inside. And once you get to that point, you become unstoppable, not because the road gets easier, but because you stop letting other people's fear slow you down. You stop bending your path just to make sure nobody gets upset. You stop dimming your own light just so nobody feels overshadowed. You understand that it's not your job to stay small to make others feel big. Here's the thing. When you choose yourself, some people will walk away. And that's fine, because the people who truly belong in your life won't need you to shrink for them. They'll clap when you win, even if you pass them. They'll push you higher, even if it means they have to look up to see you. And those are the people worth keeping close. But you'll never meet them if you keep living under the weight of people who only cheer when you stay in place. You've got to break free. You've got to bet on yourself so hard that it doesn't matter who's watching or what they're saying. Because at the end of the day, it's your life. You're the one who has to wake up in your skin, walk in your shoes, and live with your choices. And I'd rather live with the risk of chasing my own vision than the regret of following someone else's map. The truth is, people will drain you if you let them. They pull from your energy, your time, your focus, until you've got nothing left for yourself. And here's the worst part. You'll start thinking that's normal. You'll think it's your responsibility to be there for everybody, all the time. No matter what it costs you, but that's how you end up empty. That's how you end up walking around, tired, frustrated, unmotivated, wondering why you're stuck. It's because you've been pouring into everybody else's cup while yours is bone dry. You've got to learn the difference between helping people and handing over your life. There's a fine line between support and sacrifice. And too many of us cross it without realizing it. We think we're being loyal, but really, we're letting other people's priorities become more important than our own. And that's dangerous, because when you're living that way, your own dreams, your own goals, your own growth, they start getting pushed to the back of the line. A lot of times, it's not even that people are evil or out to get you. Sometimes they don't even know they're draining you. They're just used to you being available, used to you fixing their problems, used to you making time for them, even if it means putting your own life on hold. And you've trained them to expect that. And every time you drop what you're doing to cater to someone else's crisis, you're sending the message, my time, my energy, my goals, they're not as valuable as yours. And after a while, that becomes the dynamic. You'll have people who only call when they need something, never just to check in. People who expect you to celebrate their wins but can't be bothered to show up for yours. People who disappear when you're struggling, but magically reappear when they need a favor. And if you're not careful, that pattern will eat you alive. You've got to protect yourself from that. You've got to set boundaries and actually enforce them. That's not being cold, that's being smart. Because you can't give your best to anyone if you're constantly running on fumes. You can't build your vision if you're spending all your energy holding up everyone else's. And trust me, the moment you burn out, a lot of those same people you broke yourself to help, they'll find someone else to lean on. Boundaries are not walls, they're gates. They let in what's good for you and keep out what's not. But here's the part most people don't want to face. When you start setting boundaries, some folks are going to get mad. They're going to act like you've changed. They're going to call you selfish. They're going to try to guilt you back into being who you used to be, the version of you that was easy to take from. And that's where you've got to be strong enough to hold your ground. See, selfish is when you take and give nothing back. But self-preservation, that's survival. You're not here to be used up until there's nothing left of you. You're here to live your life, pursue your calling. And yes, help others, but not at the cost of your own well-being. And the people who truly value you will understand that. They'll respect your boundaries, even if it takes them time to adjust. The ones who don't, they were only around for what you could give them anyway. I've learned that the stronger you get about protecting your space, the clearer your life becomes. You start noticing how much time you've been wasting on things that don't feed you. You start realizing how much mental energy you've been spending on people who wouldn't think twice about leaving you hanging. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. You can't go back to giving away pieces of yourself like they're nothing. One, it's not about shutting people out. It's about choosing who gets access. Everybody shouldn't have the same level of access to your time. Your energy, your thoughts, that's something you earn. And if someone can't respect that, then they've already disqualified themselves. It's that simple. And let me tell you, once you stop overextending yourself, you start to see just how much more you can do with that extra energy. You're sharper, you're more focused. You've got more to give to the things that actually matter to you. And that's when you start making real progress. That's when you start building the life you actually want, instead of living one that's constantly being interrupted, redirected, and drained by everyone else's demands. People will test your limits to see what they can get away with. And if you never draw a line, they'll just keep pushing it back until you're in a corner. But once you decide that your peace, your health, your dreams are non-negotiable, everything changes. You stop letting every emergency pull you off track. You stop answering every call that comes in at the wrong time. You stop saying yes when you know it should be a no. Some people won't like the new you, and that's fine. The old you was breaking your back trying to keep everyone happy, and it still wasn't enough. You can't win that game. So stop playing it. Start living in a way that keeps you whole. Because if you're broken, you can't be your best for anyone, not even yourself. And the thing is, once you get comfortable with those boundaries, you'll see how many fake connections start falling away. You'll see who was there for the benefits and who was there for the bond. It's a painful truth, but it's also freeing. One, because the more you let go of the people who only take, the more space you make for the ones who give back. At the end of the day, you've got to decide if you want to keep being drained or if you want to live full. And living full means protecting your time, your energy, and your heart like they're the most valuable things you own, because they are.